Why are we so afraid of disapproval? It is a question that haunts the quiet corners of our minds. We become chameleons. We change our colors, our shape, our very voice, just to match the expectations of others. We find ourselves pulled in 1,000 different directions, each string held by a different person, demanding a different version of us. We stretch and strain, trying to please everyone. But what happens when you try to be everything to everyone? You become nothing to yourself. This was the truth that was crushing Clara, a new mother, adrift in a sea of responsibility. Her living room, once a sanctuary, was now a beautiful, chaotic whirlwind of baby toys, unfolded laundry, and the ghost of a full night's sleep. But the real storm was on her phone. It buzzed incessantly, a constant reminder of the world's conflicting demands. One message from her own mother: you must let the baby cry it out. It's the only way they learn to self-soothe. A moment later, a ping from a close friend: you must never let the baby cry. It damages their trust. You have to be there for every whimper. Each message was a judgment. Each piece of advice, a standard she felt she was failing to meet. She was paralyzed by the sheer volume of perfect advice. She tried to follow all of it, and in doing so, felt like a failure at everything. The confident, intuitive person she once was had vanished, replaced by a woman who had lost all trust in her own instincts. Desperate for just a moment of peace, a single breath of quiet air, Clara put the baby in his stroller and walked. She didn't have a destination. She just needed to escape the four walls that felt like they were closing in. Her aimless steps led her to a small, unassuming storefront she'd never noticed before, an old-fashioned bakery. The warm, sweet scent of baking bread and yeast spilled out onto the street, pulling her in. Inside, the air was thick with comfort. It was quiet, calm. Behind the counter, an old man was methodically kneading a large, smooth ball of dough. His name tag read Samuel. He moved with a gentle, practiced rhythm, his focus absolute. He was completely absorbed in his work, not rushed by the few customers browsing the shelves. He was an island of peace in Clara's turbulent ocean. The overwhelming calm of the place finally broke the dam of her composure. A long, weary sigh escaped her lips, louder than she intended. The baker, Samuel, looked up from his dough, his eyes kind and unhurried. "You look so peaceful," Clara said, her voice trembling slightly. "I feel like I'm being pulled apart. Everyone tells me a different right way to be, a different way to parent, a different way to think, a different way to feel. I'm just trying to please them all, and I'm losing." Samuel chuckled softly, a low, rumbling sound like stones in a riverbed. He didn't offer words of sympathy. Instead, he gestured with a flour-dusted hand towards the perfect, elastic sphere of dough on his wooden board. "This dough," he said simply, "knows what it is. It has what it needs: flour, water, salt, yeast, in the right measure. It doesn't ask to be a cake. It doesn't try to be a pastry. It is bread. And because it is true to itself, it will become good bread." He then turned and took a fresh, empty mixing bowl from a shelf. He placed it on the counter between them. He scooped a measure of flour and added it to the bowl. He looked at Clara. He said gently, "Add some water." Flustered, Clara grabbed a jug and poured too much. The flour was instantly a soupy mess. Samuel's gaze shifted to another customer who was watching with curiosity. "Now you," he said, pointing to the salt shaker. "Add the salt." The customer, eager to participate, gave it a generous, enthusiastic shake. a huge handful of salt piled onto one side of the bowl. Samuel then turned to a third person near the door. "And you add the yeast." The person, thinking they were helping fix the watery mixture, tore open a whole packet and dumped it in. The result was a sticky, lumpy, unworkable disaster. It was ruined. It was nothing. Clara stared at the goopy substance in the bowl. "It's ruined," she whispered, confused. Samuel nodded, his expression serious but kind. He looked from the ruined mixture to Clara's face. "This," he said, his voice low and profound, "is you. You are trying to bake your bread using everyone else's recipe, all at once. You let one person add too much water of guilt. You let another add a handful of pressure. You let a third add a whole packet of fear. You cannot bake good bread by listening to every voice in the room. A baker must listen to one thing. The baker must listen to the dough. The baker must feel what it needs. Clara, you must learn to listen to yourself, your intuition, your heart. That is the only recipe that matters." The words landed in that quiet bakery, surrounded by the smell of honest, simple bread. It was as if a bolt of lightning struck Clara's mind. She looked at the ruined dough, a chaotic mess of good intentions gone wrong. Then she looked at Samuel's perfect, simple, coherent ball of dough, waiting patiently to become what it was always meant to be. And she understood. Her feeling of failure wasn't a failure of her ability, it was a failure of focus. She had been listening to everyone except the one person whose voice was essential, herself, her own intuition, her own recipe. In that instant, she felt the crushing weight of 1,000 unspoken shoulds and musts lift from her shoulders, the burden of pleasing her mother, her friends, the bloggers, the experts. It just evaporated. She didn't need to be the perfect mother by their conflicting standards. She just needed to be her baby's mother. The final scene of this story doesn't take place in the bakery. It takes place back home. Clara is in her living room. The baby is fussing, not crying, just making the little noises of a tired infant. Her phone buzzes on the coffee table. A notification lights up the screen with more unsolicited advice. The old Clara would have snatched it up, her heart rate spiking with anxiety. She would have read it and felt another wave of inadequacy wash over her. But this was the new Clara. She looked at the phone. A small, knowing smile touched her lips. She reached over, silenced it, and turned it face down on the table. The noise was cut off. She then scooped up her baby, pulling him close to her chest. She held him, felt his warmth against hers, and began to hum a simple, quiet tune that came from nowhere and everywhere at once. She was calm, she was confident. She was no longer listening to the noise of the world. She was listening to the dough. If you try to be everything to everyone, you will be nothing to yourself. True peace and confidence come not from seeking external approval, but from finding, trusting, and honoring your own internal recipe. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more content that helps you find your own way. We'll see you in the next one.